So I've never really made a full video on my watch collection, but I thought I'd just go ahead and do so now. Um, so I'll just start with kind of where it all started for me. I've always worn watches a long, long time ago. I mean, I would wear watches, cheap watches, any kind of digital watch. It didn't really matter to me. I just liked wearing watches. My family would kind of give me, your classic like Walmart digital watches throughout the years. And then one day at work, we had this like online forum for our job where people could sell stuff. And this guy was selling the Citizen. And I picked this up for 20 bucks. I still have the original metal band with it as well. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, and this thing was just really cool. It fits really well. It's just your normal kind of day date. I don't know. It really got me into watch. It said quartz on it. Didn't know what that was. Really researched everything about watches, and that was what led me to find out what automatic watches are, manual on watches are, and this was years back. So still have it. This watch really did it for me. I don't have my first original watch. I don't know. I've worn Casio digital watches and all that stuff throughout the years. So that's the one that really did it for me. Cool watch, just simple quartz. So then that led me to pick up my first automatic watch years back, and that would be the SNXS 79, which is very popular. I ended up switching this to a closed case back because the see-through one is like really thick, and honestly the movement's not super special, but it's an automatic watch. I think it looks pretty cool, and yeah, nowadays I don't really like it as much. The case shape isn't my favorite, but I still keep it around because it was my first automatic watch that really got me into understanding what that was. So later down the line, I started getting into watches more and more, learning more about them, ended up finding out about Orient, and I picked up this Orient Day Date. Obviously, this is a one-for-one of Rolex Day Date. The only difference being is a Rolex Day Date is insanely expensive, and they're only made in precious metal. So while it is one of my favorite designs of all time, and I'm not really a big fan of Rolex, the Day Date is probably my favorite Rolex. This will definitely do for a little while. It's really well made in terms of proportions. It's actually pretty well respected. I'm not into reps or homage watches, some would say, but this one really does it for me. It's really nice. It's super proportionate, and these can get upwards of $1,000 online. They can go for about $1,000, so anywhere from 500 to $1,000. So they're pretty cool. They've got their own in-house caliber, which is neat. They're not using any kind of like Seiko NH35 or anything like that. On the wrist, they look pretty good as well. I'm not going to be able to really display it super well because I'm trying to, here, hold on. Do this with two hands here. On the wrist, it obviously fits like really great, 36 millimeter, just an excellent size. So super cool. And yeah, definitely one that will be around probably forever, just because I think it's, I don't know, it's a neat novelty to have compared to an actual Rolex Day Date. And even if I get a Rolex Day Date at some point, I think I'll still keep it just because I really like Orient, have a high respect for the brand. Leading into that, I have one of the first dive watches I ever seen when I was researching watches long ago was the Zodiac Seawolf, and so I ended up picking one up, and I just love this watch. It's just fantastic. It's super thin compared to modern watches, and it's just amazing. It has anytime the date switches on the 12 o'clock, the date jumps, which is really cool. It just makes like a cling, and it has kind of a jumping date feature. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a quick set date, so you do have to wind back to the 9, back to the 12, back to the 9, back to the 12. And it does have hacking, so for such an old watch, it does have some really neat features, and it just wears phenomenally on the wrist. Like, oh man, it's beautiful. It looks great on the wrist. Absolutely love it. Great vintage watch. Moving into the next watch is going to be this Longines calendar, Conquest calendar. So look at those indices, dude. Just amazing. Also, another really great vintage watch. Has the gold medallion on the back, and I actually had this watch serviced. It was damaged and had taken on some water damage, so you can see the dial has kind of these specs on it, but it was super, super in bad condition when I first got it. But this watchmaker that I know, he just did an absolute phenomenal job fixing this thing up. So just really love that watch. All in all, I think I paid $300 or maybe 400 with the service and the watch. I paid about $100 for the watch. Got a great deal on that. It was insane. So moving on from that, I'll do a little quick shout out to Orient again. This is an Orient that I picked up pretty close to the other Orient around the same time, and it's just a quartz tank style watch. It even has the sticker on the back. It was brand new, so just cool. Nothing crazy, but really nice overall. Another one here is a a nice Elgin manual wind, really cool. Just, you know, gold watch, nothing crazy. I just really love the vintage stuff, so that's pretty neat. So eventually, going and learning more about watches, I'd find my grail watch, and that was the Zen 556. This is the IRS specifically. I also like the RS, and honestly, Zen is just a phenomenal brand. To this day, this is still my grail watch. It's funny because, like, at the time, this was pretty unobtainable, and once I got my first big job, this became more obtainable, and this watch is just fantastic. It's so classic for a dress style watch, or sport, whatever. It can be worn on any strap. Such a classic design. The date window being black background just hides really nicely. I love the red hand pop. This watch just does it for me. Some people figure their grails are just has to be super out of reach. For me, time and time again, this is just a watch I'd never get rid of. I mean, I don't know, like it just does it for me on all angles. I wouldn't even trade this for a Rolex day date. I mean, the money is just not even about it at that point. It's just easily top 5 watch of all time for me. So just love this watch. It's just phenomenal. So going into Zen, I actually have another really cool Zen here. Thick boy for sure, but just a really, really cool Zen 103. This model is no longer continued, and you can notice it actually says SUG on the side there in Germany. I don't know if it's pronounced SUG or you just say SUG, but Zen actually owns that case manufacturer, and they make cases for like Alonga and Zona and other really high-end brands. So really cool. I don't think they brand that anymore on the side of their cases. I'm not exactly sure. Really cool Zen. Going on with Zen's history, there's a brand called Guenand, and they're very, very, I probably butchered the German pronunciation for that. They're a really, really small German brand, and Zen, Helmut Zen, the actual creator of Zen, moved on from Zen at one point and started working with Guenand. And these watches, my 103 and this watch actually share the same movement. This one's dressed up nicer, so it's got a bit better just overall detailing, but still a really, really cool watch. This is the bead blasted model, and yeah, just really, really cool chronograph. Moving on from that, I have this really, really neat I believe this is a 1942 Yarder. I got this around the same time, or at the same exact time as I picked up this Seiko, or King Seiko, and this King Seiko is by far one of my favorite watches ever. It's so thin. The case shape is just phenomenal, and yeah, it's just it just doesn't even hold up compared to anything that's being made nowadays. Almost, I mean, there are obviously things that are made, and I believe Seiko, Grand Seiko, just redid this. I think this is the 44 KS shape design. Could be wrong there. Feel free to correct me. They just redid some, but they're making them in small batches, and I think they're in precious metal. Yeah, manual wine yarder, really, really cool. Some unique history with the company and brand. They use Swiss movements that were made by, I believe, another company, but it was a New York brother and 2 brothers, I think, or a brother, or 2 brothers, something like that, that made the company. So actually on the movement, it's branded differently than Yardur, I believe, is like their company. I don't know. I looked up the history on it a while back. Really cool though, rose gold. It's pretty big for such an old watch. Honestly, I think this is like a 38 millimeter. And so wears really great. Next up is this Nevada 3D. What a cool watch. This actually needs a service because if I tilt it sideways, it'll kind of stop running here and there. So unfortunately, yeah, it'll need a service, but the dial's almost, it goes up like a globe. So it's like if the earth was starting to protrude out of the dial of the watch. I don't really know how well I can pick it up on the camera, especially with the crystal being kind of domed, but such a cool watch. It is a bit smaller, but I still think it wears really great on a man's wrist, depending on the size of your wrist, but I really like it. All right, let's see. Next up, I have this Benrus Vietnam spec. This is a 1966 watch, and it was issued to some U.S. military member at the time. Really great watch. I picked this up at a flea market for a really great deal. A couple other honorable mentions. I got this pretty cool Elgin Sportsman. Nothing crazy here. I really like the sharp lugs on it. It wears very well for a vintage watch. This Lucian Picard is really cool. I love how the indices pop on this thing, the Circa 101. Unfortunately, no quick set on the date, but the day does have that. So really neat watch. It's got some interesting proportions, case size, and the way the indices pop on it and the red hand. Nothing crazy, but pretty cool. I got this vintage Tissot, and it's a Viso date, and it's also got the original Stretch brand on it, which is pretty neat. Nothing crazy, but cool watch overall. I've got a couple other watches here you can see. They're nothing special to them, but I may honestly end up selling a couple of these old watches just because I'm not really wearing them, and I don't want them to sit around. I know they're not worth too much, but they're cool nonetheless. Something I picked up for my fiance recently is this Waltham, or Wittenauer, sorry, Wittenauer. And it is just awesome. This is rolled gold bracelet in a solid gold case. So just a really beautiful, elegant ladies watch. It even wears decent on my wrist, but honestly, I think it just fits her way better than it does me. And then lastly is going to be my Tudor LHD. This is a great watch. It's super lightweight, so it just wears great for how big it is on a metal bracelet. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of the FXD, but I just can't really justify the FXD with the LHD. I'll put this on my wrist for reference. I don't have the biggest wrist, but I think this is about as big as I can wear a watch. I believe this is a 42 millimeter watch, and I wouldn't really go too much bigger than this. It wears pretty much within the dimensions of my wrist, and that's as large as I would go. So if this were any bigger, I honestly would sell it, but it fits perfectly for my wrist for the specification that it is. The left-hander works perfect on my left wrist, so the crown is backwards so it won't bump in. I also wear my watches behind my wrist bone anyways, so it's not really a big problem, but it is more of a nice comfort factor. So yeah, it's even got the red date or day for the roulette wheel with the red Pelagos texting. So super cool watch. I mean, I wear the crap out of my watches. Doesn't really matter if they're as expensive as this Tudor or vintage like the Longines or as cheap as any of the quartz watches. They all get worn the same, and honestly, I love them. So yeah, I will take this off and kind of give a little overview of my whole collection real quick. There are some ladies watches that I have also in here that are my fiance's that are missing, but I didn't really want to include them just because I was including so much to begin with. So I'll do kind of a little outro of everything. And yeah, there they are. So thanks for watching. I'm really not sure how much more videos I'll make. I don't really have a good setup to make videos, but I figured I'd just put this out. It's something that I've wanted to make for a little while and just kind of highlight what I have. I think some of my collection is pretty unique. I don't wear all of these consistently. I mean, my main wears are going to be my Zen, my Gwenon, my 103, my King Seiko, this really cool Nevada. I wear my Orient quite a bit here and there, my Zodiac, the Longines. The Tudor gets a lot of wear as well with those. And then most of the other pieces are kind of just here and there in the rotation. So yeah, that was the collection. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.